When Elizabeth Gilbert's marriage broke up, she went travelling around the world. Then she wrote a book about it. And to say that memoir struck a chord with other women is something of an understatement. Eat, Pray, Love became a publishing juggernaut, sold around 10 million copies and spawned a Hollywood film starring Julia Roberts, as well as a stack of merchandise from sarongs to package tours where fans of the book could retrace her journeys around Italy, India and Bali. Elizabeth Gilbert's had success beyond most authors' wildest dreams, but 6 years on, while writing her 7th book, she's still talking to audiences about the book that made her name, whether she likes it or not, and she'll be doing it in Canberra tonight and again in Sydney next week. I spoke with Elizabeth Gilbert in Canberra today. Elizabeth Gilbert, welcome to 7:30.
Thank you.
It's a publishing phenomenon, and up there with Da Vinci Code and 50 Shades. And I know you've tried to actually walk away from it in the past, but it appears that you can't quite do it.
Not quite. First of all, thank you for putting me in the same category with 50 Shades of Grey and Da Vinci Code. But you're right. It seems to have reached that level. It will be a mystery to me probably for the rest of my life what happened and why that book connected with so many people. It's a blessing and it's also perplexing. I don't know that there's a logical explanation for it, but it's amazing that it occurred.
I guess at what point did you realise that you were never going to be able to leave this behind and you would have to be the person who was still receptive to those fans?
Well, I mean, there is something that's a little bit reassuring about knowing what the first line of your obituary is going to be, you know? I mean, clearly, this is what I'm going to be known as, and you can't control what you're going to be known as any more than you can control in your personal life how people regard you or what they think of you.
I mean, there's a lot of people, and you would have come across them, who thought or think that you have the answer to their problems. What do you say to those people? With all due respect, I don't have the answer to their problems. I scarcely ever have the answer to my own problems in life, and I think, I've had people come up to me at book signings and say, I know I only have 2 seconds to talk to you, and I know you're really busy, and I don't want to be in a position, but should I leave my husband? And there's, I understand, I'm sympathetic to the desire to find somebody who's going to solve things for you that are insolvable. I mean, the definition of a dilemma is that every solution is equally as bad as the other. And that's, being stuck in dilemmas is what brings people to gurus and what brings people to, the mountaintop, to have somebody just say A, not B, go through this door, not this door. And I don't feel equipped to do that for anybody, and I try to kind of receive them as politely as I can, while at the same time gently reminding them that we just met 5 seconds ago and I don't know the situation of their marriage, but that I'm certain that with a lot of more effort and thinking and support from their own community, they're going to find their way through it. But you did really think hard about coming up with your own ways of coping, coming off such a huge success. You knew how big it was, you knew what was going to be on the other side.
Yeah.
What were the things that you told yourself about how to get yourself through it?
I had a lot of advantages for not going crazy with the success that came with Eat, Pray, Love. It happened at kind of the right moment in time for me to absorb the tsunami of it as well as I could. But mostly what I tried to remind myself was that it was up to me to decide whether this was going to turn into a Hollywood biopic cautionary tale that ends up with me, in a soiled bathrobe at 10 o'clock in the morning, day drinking and sobbing and saying, "Don't look at me," like turning it into some sort of terribly dramatic disaster, or just finding a way to incorporate it as healthily as possible. And for me, that just meant going about my work, in the same way that after a tremendous failure, if you have a path, you have to get back on your path. You still have to do that after tremendous success as well. It seems really strange, but these are jarring events in a person's life.
Well, you've talked about this idea that the Greeks and the Romans had. You say that there's this concept that the inspiration and the creativity doesn't necessarily come from the artist, that they allowed themselves to think that there was something living in the wall, that they were just the conduit, which means you can neither take too much credit for success or too much blame for failure. Now, is that something you really subscribe to?
It's a good sanity device to subscribe to it. I mean, I think that generally speaking, to speak in broad terms, in Western civilization, we have created a myth around artists that has contributed, I think, to a lot of madness in the artistic world. And that myth is the idea of individual greatness and individual genius. That here's this person who's very, very, very special. I mean, it's a romantic idea, a capital R romantic idea, sort of Germanic idea, that this person is very, very special and what they're doing is very special, and that it may destroy them because it's so big, and and they may be consumed in the flames of their work, and they'll probably end up dying of alcoholism or disease or despair, but that's okay because the work will eat them up. And I just feel like it's a really destructive view of work, and it's not the view I've ever had toward my work. I feel like my work as a writer is a relationship between myself, a craftsperson, and this mystery. And the mystery is this question of creativity. Some of it is my responsibility, and some of it isn't really up to me. I don't know why I'm able to write. I don't know why I have that ability when there's many other abilities I don't have. I just know that my responsibility to it is to do my work as well as possible, and then hope that there's enough cracks in me to allow the mysterious part of it to come in. And when it doesn't work, to accept that sometimes happens, and try to have as healthy as a responsibility as you can with this kind of divine idea of creativity, without letting it consume you or feel like you're its slave or its master.
One of the problems of coping with success is, of course, the fame and the people who follow you around the world. And one of the good things is that they still turn up to listen to you talk about it and
Right.
still ask you for advice. But you've also got the people who are the haters, the people who say this is either a badly written book or this is something that's just first world problems, and who really cares. It's a
Right.
polarising book, and has been. How have you coped with that?
I love it. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody, nobody likes to be told that they're, narcissistic and insignificant. But what am I to do? My first book, which was a very mild collection of literary short stories, also got bad reviews and criticism. It's just that nobody paid attention to it because it sold 2,000 copies. You put something out in the world, and there's a certain vulnerability that you must embrace if you're going to risk making anything. And coming with that is the idea that there are people who are going to get on Twitter and Facebook and tell you, as closely as they can to your face, what a despicable human being you are. And I think the way that I've learned to cope with it is to simply not look at it, and to not really look at any of it, really. I mean, I gave myself, as Eat, Pray, Love was going on, about a 2 or 3 year break from the internet in general. I would look at it with like one hand over my eye. I don't want to see what anybody's saying. I don't want to see if they're saying wonderful things about me. I don't want to see if they're saying disparaging things about me. I don't think either of those are particularly healthy for me to be exposing myself to. And I learned very easy that looking yourself up on Google is kind of like reading your roommate's diary. It's tempting, and it's a little bit thrilling, and very quickly you're going to read something about yourself that you wish that you had never seen and that you can never get out of your head. So I think the important thing is to just allow that it occurs and just kind of stay away from it and let people have their own opinions.
Elizabeth Gilbert, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, it was a delight, Ben.